Alright guys, welcome to Liquibition number 30. This is Liquibition R. We had actually intended to stop the season at 29 after F91's epic run there, but when the Korean coaches come a knock and you have to answer that call. So we have one final encore presentation here. This is going to be the Zerg Chinese player F91 against the ex-pro gamer, now Korean coach Terran kOs. This is Chill here, and today I'm joined with Day the 9th.
Hey, what's up everyone? This is Sean Plott, aka Day 9, and today I'm going to be doing a little bit of Liquibition casting with everyone's good friend Chill. I want to apologize initially for that delay at the start, because as it turns out, our host stream, his country lost power. So hopefully we'll try to move him to the first world in the nearby future, so that way that sort of thing doesn't happen again. But sincere apology for that, and it's a miracle things are actually up and running, so we're super excited and happy to be here. Before we go on and say anything else, we are actually going to call the player kOs, because I actually thought his name was kOs, because it's kOs, and I do the Hooked on Phonics program, and I just read it as kOs. But apparently, if you're very, very clever, and know tricks of the internet, it is in fact pronounced kOs. So why don't you introduce the players a little bit for us, Chill?
Yeah, I mean it is a sneaky idea, I guess. I've always called it kOs. I don't know if it actually is called that, but we're gonna go with kOs. We have from China, we have the Zerg, who's just absolutely dominating everyone in the foreign world right now. This is F91, and kind of his hallmark is a weird style where he's not exactly playing these standard builds. He's shifting them one way or the other in ways we don't often see at the highest level of play. And that's really gone through a lot of people that we put him up against. He went through Idra, he went through JF, he went through Strelok. He's just been tearing everyone apart. So, I mean, now we've got to bring in the Koreans to take him down. That's basically going to be the name of today. What are your thoughts on F91 going into this?
Yeah, he's like the nuttiest Zerg player ever, and that's definitely played to his advantages because, I mean, there's a lot of foreign players who are very, very strong, but definitely get out of their comfort zone when they timings they're not familiar with. But the Koreans are infamous for playing so many games and seeing so many styles that they're supposedly supposed to prevail over everything. And kOs, I was around when he was still a pro gamer, watching him play, and he was very solid back when I saw him play, and I don't know how much of that he's lost as a coach, whether he's continue to play a whole bunch, but I'm hoping that we can continue to see that sort of solid gameplay that he had back when he was playing on maps like Nostalgia and stuff, and apply them to these newer maps against this highly unorthodox play.
Right, and the last time I've seen kOs play, there was actually a coach battle where a lot of the coaches from these pro teams played against each other, and he played a Terran vs Protoss, I believe it was on Python, and he got DT rushed, and it was a very unorthodox game, and he responded to it very well. And I mean, I don't want to make the mistake of drawing too many conclusions from one game, but he looked like he was very and made very smart decisions in that time where he may have been in situations he hadn't been in before. So, I mean, if we had to guess someone to go against F91 who's going to be familiar with unorthodox styles, it may be kOs who can get it done today.
Yeah, definitely. I totally agree. With that said, let's talk a little bit about the map. Opening up right now, we have Tau Cross, which I really like as a map. It's very interesting because there are no ramps anywhere. So your choke is generally a little bit wider, and players have to play a little bit more defensively in general. They can't do too much cute early expanding, walling things off and that sort of thing. So as a result, we see a lot more things like Lurk or Ling opening for Zergs being more common. We see more aggressive Medic Marine, a lot of Vulture Harass happening early. So I'm really interested to see which player is going to be able to take map control with a big army first.
Yeah, I really think just in kind of open battles, Tau Cross makes, at least as a Zerg player, makes me feel very comfortable. I can just make up a big army. There's a lot of open ground for flanking and whatnot, and only a few kind of tactical areas like bridges to control. The only reason I would think this map is going to favor kOs a little bit is because F91 has shown he's typically very aggressive, and I think this map is fairly easy to defend, as you said, in the natural. So if F91 can slow down and play it as any other Zerg would, I think he'll have a reasonable advantage going into this first game. But if he gets kind of caught up and he's trying to finish kOs off very early, then that could play right into kOs's hands.
Yeah, definitely. I also think it's really interesting to note that because the map is so wide open, when you take that third natural as Terran, it's kind of difficult for Zerg to use Swarm appropriately. I mean, generally, if, like, for example, you're playing on Sin Chu Peng Ryong, it's really easy to start making like a line of swarms towards the Terran natural. Well, because there's so much open space, it's very easy for Terran to maneuver. So swarms become a little bit less effective unless the Zerg has a huge amount of units.
Yeah, I got to agree. Let's just take a look at the other maps right now. We don't have to go into them in depth because, of course, we're going to talk about them as it goes on. Game 2 is going to be on the standard Python. Game 3, Neo Harmony. Game 4, Coliseum. I've got to assume that's Coliseum 2. Game 5, 6, and 7, if necessary, are going to be Andromeda, Rush Hour 3, and Destination. Excuse me. So just looking at that map pool, which way are you leaning towards this favoring? The Zerg play of F91 or the more standard Terran Korean play of kOs?
I don't know, it's kind of a toss-up. I mean, I want to say things like, oh, I feel very comfortable for Zerg on this map set, because these are all maps that I like to play, but F91 is up against just a very, very, very solid player, and he's so unpredictable. I'm just super pumped, so yeah!
Alright, well, before we get into it, usually we have a favorite going into these Liquibitions. I mean, even if we don't want to admit it, usually there's someone who we are really thinking is probably going to take it. And we've shown that person can kind of change as time goes on. F91 started as the underdog going against JF, but now as he's built up more fans and more hype and people have seen his style and he's taking down very top players, he has really got a lot of steam behind him. Unfortunately, in this match, in the vote at least, and in the comments, there's been a huge disparity between people who are undecided. Should I vote for the solid nowadays play of F91, or should I stick with Korean mechanics, which are kind of old school, maybe washed up? And there's been a lot of different opinions on that. Personally, I think F91's playstyle and the fact that he's been playing so much recently is going to be able to overcome kOs's mechanics. I'm making the assumption kOs isn't playing a lot, that he doesn't have a lot of familiarity with the game anymore, and maybe his mechanics have slipped. So with that, I'm going to predict that F91 is going to take it. I think it'll go to 5, maybe 6 games. So I'm wondering, what are you thinking, Day?
My vote would probably go towards Noni, but as a second runner-up, I'd end up voting for F91 based on the exact same reasons that you said. I actually predict it's almost certainly going to go to 4 matches. I'm pretty sure the winner will win by 4-2. No Game 7, in my opinion.
No Game 7. That's unfortunate because I would be looking forward to seeing Destination, especially against a Korean. I really like to see proper mech, and we haven't really seen it executed with foreigners, especially against F91 in the past Liquibition series. So that's something I was really looking forward to.
And with that in mind, let's go ahead and jump right into match 1 of F91 against kOs on Tau Cross. Alright, so looks like the game started.
Yeah, sorry, I thought we had a bit of an intro there, but who knows what happened. This is craziness going on right now. Here we have F91 in Teal Zerg in the top left, and we have kOs playing under the ID Pretty Girl SY in Blue Terran in the top right.
I definitely appreciate that his name is Pretty Girl, so I don't have to worry about calling him kOs or kOs or anything like that. And right now, F91's already starting out, unfortunately scouting in the wrong direction, but for any Zerg player watching right now, I think it's important to notice why he's scouting in that direction first. If you scout in the counterclockwise direction, your Overlord will be able to pass over that sort of high ground ledge right outside the natural expansion. So if you send your Overlord that way first, you can always set it up to overlook the expansion.
I actually was going to say the complete opposite, because I find this is the wrong scouting. I usually find that the dangerous path, in this case, is cross map, and that first overlord is going to be safe from any marine, so I always send my first overlord on the dangerous path, and this second one, unless the Terran is really cunning and out there scouting for overlords, coming down a path like this is probably not going to get sniped by marines that early. But I mean, regardlessly, everyone has their own ideas for scouting, so no real point in saying this is wrong or anything.
No, I think that is a good point to bring up. I always think it is important to consider your overlord patterns, because I do generally tend to scout in the direction that you just suggested, because again, since it's sort of safe along that left edge, it's useful to send the second overlord along there because it's guaranteed to get onto the ledge, and your first overlord can, like you said, go to the dangerous path and not have to worry about any marines. And I always think that's useful for Zerg players to think about early on, because most Zerg players just tend to send their overlords wherever they see first, or wherever the mains are.
Okay, so here we go, the drone scout from F91 that we said was unorthodox but has now become standard for F91. This 9 scout sees that Pretty Girl is going for a 13 command center here, sending out 2 SCVs to deal with the drone, and the drone has seen that, so I would expect... Oh, he's not delaying the pool. I would have expected F91 to go for some sort of 3 hatchery before pool build. Looks like he's decided to respond with a 12 pool, 11 gas. And now it looks like he's really gonna try to do something aggressive here to deal with that. Of course, that's the one option. The other one going into heavy macro play, trying to do some drone harass here. But this SCV doing a great job of blocking the drone, and it looks unlikely that it's going to be able to do enough damage to the building SCV of the command center.
Yeah, anytime you're a Zerg player and you see a Terran doing this sort of build, you either have to power really, really hard, like getting the 3 hatch first, or be really, really aggressive. And it's pretty clear what option F91 is going to choose. We've already seen him throw down his pool and get the gas. And you know, I wouldn't be surprised if he got Ling speed first to do some sort of bust-in, because a lot of Terran players who end up doing this fast command center end up having just too few marines at a critical moment when Zerg Ling speed finishes early.
Yeah, for sure. We see the barracks is finished, not making any marines, but a bunker going up. Still no marines. Finally a marine coming in. This drone's still trying to harass that SCV. Wow, it's done a lot of damage, but looks unlikely that it's going to finish. Looks like he's going for it. 3 hits left on it. Drone probably not going to be able to finish that. So with the marine coming, it's getting out of there. A lot of gas built up for kOs. So it's going to be interesting to see if he's going to transition into a factory here or put down an academy. A few Zerglings up, layer up as expected. No Zergling speed done. I would agree that a Zergling speed would be nice. He could get some Lings in here around the left side of the barracks and harass the SCVs, but looks like he's going to save that guy. Okay, now Zergling speed has started. So it's not going to be a quick Zergling attack. It'll be kind of a controlling Zergling speed type of build.
Yeah, these tricky players always like to contradict the commentators once we've made committing comments. But either way, we are seeing that factory go down for kOs, so that's sort of an interesting choice. We don't really see a lot of early expanding players take this sort of play. And definitely for F91, who's going for a little bit of Ling harass here, it's a little bit confusing for him to be seeing so many Marines being made. I definitely, personally, would be suspecting just a medic Marine play, but this fast factory could be anything. He could be transitioning to Vultures, Goliaths, tanks for defense against Hydralisks, but it just, very clearly a mech play now because he's adding on the second factory, and we do see a Spire going down for F91, so it looks like we're going to be seeing some aggro-micro coming up soon.
F91 doing a good job with these few slow Zerglings. Let's take a look at Zergling speed. About to finish here. He's only got 4 left, but he's killed 2 or 3 SCVs, which is really annoying. F91 now, or excuse me, kOs now adding that supply depot just to give him a little more control over there. And with the Spire at about 50% now, it's going to be interesting to see if kOs is going to respond by going Vultures. I would expect that's the standard follow-up, thinking some sort of Zergling play, especially because he can't get out there to scout. But if these Mutalisks come in, he could be in a lot of trouble if he doesn't put down that armory right away, an engineering bay, and look to defend 2 hatch Mutalisks. There's almost no way for him to know this is coming.
Yeah, this is like so intense. I don't see any armory, I don't see any engineering bay, and he's making Vultures. He's getting Vulture speed, which is great for harassment and this sort of thing, but unfortunately, this Spire looks like it's almost going to be done, and only now is the armory coming out. He has 2 Vultures and Vulture speed being researched, so it's going to be sort of a big decision for kOs of how he's going to be able to play this next few minutes off to be able to hold off this Mutalisk harass.
Yeah, he's in a lot of trouble. The larva all there. Looks like 6 mutas are coming up for F91 with the armory at less than 50% now. No engineering bay in sight, and just these few zerglings still harassing. It almost, you know, it's going to be next to impossible. They'll have to have perfect Goliath micro, and with Vulture speed coming, he can't even get the Goliath range upgrade. So with the Mutalisk heading over to kOs, it's probably going to end. Game 1 is probably going to be over in a matter of minutes.
But this is what's so interesting, is by getting the Vulture speed, now all of a sudden these Mutalisks, in a sense, they can't actually do anything to kOs yet, or excuse me, to kOs yet. He has to deal with these Vultures, because if he doesn't, he can lose all his drones. So these Mutalisks have to turn around, and we do in fact see F91 whipping around to take care of this Vulture harass.
I find that surprising. I think he has, with the Sunken and the Zerglings and drones, I think he would have enough to stop this Vulture run by. Looks like 5 Vultures going up and F91 going into the main of kOs, killing some SCVs. Here comes the run by finally. Zerglings in position. kOs looks like he may have not microed that the best, but a lot are going to get through actually, getting a lot of drone kills. 4 into the main. A Mutalisk to deal with this, but those Vultures could potentially kill quite a bit. Now going into the main with the Mutalisk, F91 taking out a lot of SCVs for kOs. Looks like he's got 4 Goliaths queued up. If he can deal with the Mutas, he might be alright. Looks like the Vultures get chased out into the natural, but get a lot of drone kills. But I still like F91's position. Despite losing a lot of drones, he's really got control of the mineral line here. kOs does not have the Goliath upgrade. Looks like the Goliaths are out of position. One Goliath gets taken out immediately. The second one's going to get taken out, and now kOs has no control of his main. He's going to have to back off and run SCVs into his natural and try to get control of this somehow.
Oh, this is just such a weird situation. F91 really does not have that many drones. It looks like he's taken everything off gas. And by everything, it looks like all his geysers are loaded up, so totally ignore that statement. But yeah, I mean, this is just such a weird spot, because by getting that Vulture speed so early, yeah, he did get to do some harassment, but man, the fact that the range for Goliath was delayed so much puts kOs in the weirdest position. Like, these Mutalisk harassers is just doing so much. He can isolate any Goliath he wants to, because they just don't have any range, because that's what really lets the Goliath power add up. And it does look like F9 is going to be able to take this out, and most likely will be the winner of Game 1.
Yeah, really, I mean, had he gone for Goliath range as opposed to Vulture speed, it really may have let him defend that. The Vulture speed did let him put a little pressure on F91, but he handled it well, kept up with the Mutalisk. He can't go into the natural because there's too many turrets right now, but he does have the advantage of being able to play 3 bases against 1. Goliath range finishing now, but I mean, it's all but over now for kOs.
Yeah, there's really not much that you can do in this position. I mean, it is a very sort of clever transition to do... Oh, GG. Game 1 does in fact go to our aggressive Chinese player, F1. He is up 1-0 now. And again, what I was saying is that it is sort of interesting to think about the transition that kOs was doing. That's actually quite clever to get the speed for the Vultures so quickly, because it's very typical for a Zerg player to be expecting Medic Marine at that point. And in fact, if you instead are going for something like Vultures, it can totally throw off a Zerg player. Because, I mean, assuming that the Zerg is going Medic Marine, there's not going to be too much pressure, too much attacking going on early. And that clearly was the case when in F91's mind, because he only had 1 Sunken and minimal defense at his front. Those Vultures were easily able to walk through. I wonder if somehow kOs was able to add on some more turrets, maybe another factory earlier, if he could have easily held off that Mutalisk harass. I'm just not sure. What are your opinions on it?
Yeah, I think had he... Yeah, I think you're exactly right. Possibly even delayed the armory and gotten an engineering bay. The problem for kOs I see in this situation is that F91 didn't use that Zergling speed to be aggressive. He was harassing with slow Zergling speed, with slow Zerglings. The only reason he got Zergling speed was to deny the scouting. And usually, if someone scouts me going 14 command center, or I scout that, my response is going to be to put down many hatcheries, draw it out, try to gain back a drone advantage to negate the SCV advantage that the Terran is going to be getting. But F91 goes completely the opposite direction, makes Zerglings at the start to harass, and then gets a 2-hatch Spire. I mean, it's kind of unorthodox. I guess it is a response, but not the classic response I would be used to, and we saw it just work beautifully against kOs.
Yeah, totally. But I do again want to point out that kOs is definitely thinking about how to have an evolving play with really strong transitions throughout. So that's something I'm really going to be looking forward to, because you'll see a lot of players in general, especially when they face an unorthodox player like F91, what they'll end up doing is just thinking to themselves, if I play solid enough, I'll end up winning. But kOs, on the other hand, thinks to himself, now how can I continue to put pressure on him, to be aggressive against him, to not only have really solid micro and macro, but to do lots of tricky, annoying things that can potentially screw up his play. So I'm super looking forward to seeing him do things like that, especially on some of the more unorthodox maps we have coming up.
That's a very good thing to point out, because we've seen F9 win in other series with players. He is very good at mixing it up, which is so key in these best of sevens. He puts players on the back foot going all in, and even Idra, I mean, I don't know how much you want to, how much credit you want to put into Idra's kind of complaining comments, but he said F91 was going all in, then it looked like he was going to go all in, and he didn't go all in, and then it looked like he was macroing, and suddenly he went all in. And forth, he can play both styles. So if he sets players up to think that he just goes all in, he just does 2-hatch, he just does aggressive builds, he's shown he can do 3-hatch, and he can play standard and take it to the late game. So really, that is a key thing to think about as this series goes on and as it approaches the 7th game. So with that being said, the second map we're going to be playing on is now Python, a much more standard map than Talcross, possibly the most standard map in all of StarCraft. So what are you expecting to see here, Day, especially given how the first game played out?
Well, this map is a little more interesting, in my opinion, just because of F91's playstyle. Because Python is one of those standard macro maps. Because your third base is just not very easy to take, as it would be on a map like Peaks of Baekdu or something like that, because it's such a wide open map, players have to focus on, especially Terrans and Protoss, have to focus on getting a really big army in the early mid-game, because that is the only thing that can defend future expansions. As a result, there's a lot less cuteness that can go on this map, and a lot more just straight-up solid play. That said, F91, he's just so tricky and aggressive. I'm really interested to see what his take on a more straight-up, standard, solid map is. I'm sort of interested to see if he will, in fact, resort to more typical play, or whether he will, in fact, do another sort of zany opening. I'm pretty sure, though, kOs will probably opt for just a standard early expand and probably be going Medic Marine. I don't really like the way Mech would play out on this map, because it's just a little too hard to get control of a third gas without having already a huge advantage or something like that.
Yeah, I got to agree. And the way that kOs went for, it was actually a 13 command center as opposed to a 14 command center on the last game. I wouldn't think he would follow that up. Given how easily he lost the first game, I wouldn't think he would follow that up with some sort of bunker rush or proxy barracks rush. So I do tend to agree we're going to see standard play out of kOs. Who knows out of F91? It's almost not even worthwhile to talk about predictions for him, because it really could be anything. So with that being said, let's get game 2 going on right now.